Hey there, so today for our meal we are going to make what I call bullseyes. I think there's many different names for them, so I'm just going to teach you how I make them, and that's just what we've ended up calling them. So I just have our homemade bread. I'm going to do it on our counter griddle, and I'm just going to take a little tiny mason jar. It's like the 4-ounce mason jars, and I'm going to place it in the middle, and I'm just going to press. And now that I think about it, I forgot my little knife that I used to cut it. I'll be right back. So I just get one of these like serrated knives, and I just press down on it, and then I leave the cup on there, or leave the glass on there, and then I just kind of put my knife inside there and just kind of go all the way around like so, and then I get a little mini piece of toast, or it will be a piece of toast, and then I have my piece of bread, and then I just stack it underneath so that I can do the rest of them. And I try to do all these before I turn the griddle on and before I put any of the bread on the griddle, because I want them to all cook at the same time. Now, my family is much smaller, so we only have 2 children living at home and 2 adults, so this may or may not work. You know, you may have to do a much larger size, and so you may want to use a cookie cutter instead of this. I just found that it works well. One of my children does not like the yolks in his eggs, so I also, dump the yolks in there when I'm done, and then he takes them out to the cats. So it all works, unless there's some other recipe that I'm going to use them for at that time. So I just press it in there, and so this is the bread recipe for our sandwich bread that I have found and tweaked into the way we like it and the amount that it makes, and it's worked out really great. Every time I've made it, it's nice and sturdy. It's not crumbly. It's not a sourdough. Our family doesn't prefer sourdough, so we just use regular yeast, and it works out pretty great. We all seem to like it. I haven't had a time that I've made it where it didn't work. Now, the only thing I haven't tried to do with it is to make that same recipe and do it like an overnight dough where you don't have to knead it. So I haven't tried that yet. I do want to try that, and I've had it on my mind to try it. I just haven't done it yet because this is fairly easy and works every time. But there are times when, weeks when I don't make bread, that it might be nice to have the option to just throw all the ingredients together, mix it, and then already have bread without having to actually do all the kneading. So we'll test that out sometime and see if that works. So now I have fresh eggs over here. My son cracked one of them, so we're going to use this one first. But my trick for when you have fresh eggs from the farm is to crack them individually in a bowl, so that way you know for sure if they're good or not, because you don't want to crack them on your bread or crack them into your pan with all your other eggs and then they end up being bad. And then so I'm just going to lay all these pieces of bread. We're going to move to the griddle, and I'm going to put butter on the griddle. It's nice and clean. It just had bacon on it from yesterday, so I got all that cleaned off, and I'm just going to put some butter on the griddle. I'm going to get that turned on. I usually do like a 325, 375, somewhere in there, to get the griddle nice and warmed up. I'm just going to lay all my pieces, so I kind of push them in the butter, and then I flip them, kind of push them in the butter. And then I do the same thing on each piece of toast, or each piece of bread. It's going to be toast in a minute. I do try to work a little bit quickly because I don't want the toast to burn before I get all the eggs in there. But I usually don't have too much of a problem. Okay, and then on the other end, I do the same thing with these little rounds. I just rub them in the butter and put them on both sides. So I rub them in the butter as much as I can. And you can see that this bread it really looks like sandwich bread from the store. I mean, it might be a little bit more, it may be just a little bit more like crumbly, but not much. And this bread is also, I made this bread Friday, so it's not as fresh. It's a little bit not quite a week old, but it's not super like made it today fresh. So there's all of that. And so now I'm going to move over and get our eggs in. Okay, so I'll have to show you on the next one. And I just dump it in the hole. And I can continue to use this bowl as long as the eggs are good. So I have my bowl there, and I just take my egg and I hit it on the side, and then I just crack it open. And if you don't smell anything and it looks good, then it's good. We're all good. If you have a bad egg, you're gonna know it, you're gonna smell it, and you'll know it's not good. I don't have too much trouble, but I did once, and ever since then, I always make sure I crack them individually. And I'm just gonna pour them in there, like so. I'm going to turn the heat down now, because since I'm talking, I'm not quite working as fast, and I don't want to burn them. So now I'm going to do the ones for my son who likes his to have the yolk separated. So I'm just going to pick an egg, and I'm just going to crack it, and I'm just going to use the shell. We'll just do it in here. I'm just going to use the shell, because I need to test it first, make sure it's good before I pour it on there, before I pour it on his. So I'm just going to separate the yolk into there, the whites into this bowl, and then I'm going to put the yolk in this other bowl, and we can send it to the cats. And then I will pour it into this one over here, which I can't get you guys over there, and that might be a little too hot. And that's pretty much it. That's all we do. Is I just crack them and pour them. So it's a big hard egg. And I just try to make sure that whenever I do crack them, I get 2 halves, so that way I can pour them back and forth to get rid of the yolk, or to separate the yolk from the whites. Now, I do have some contraptions that you can use to do that, but I usually don't end up using them that much. This works just as good. And I'm smelling it just to make sure it's good, and it's fine. And then I just poured it inside there. I'm going to wash up my hands. So now I'm going to just wait for them to get to where the yolk and the whites are cooked enough for me to flip it, but maybe not burnt. See, like this one is probably more ready. These two are more ready. I'm guessing the ring inside here that toasts up the bread and heats up the griddle is more on the outer ring, so those get done better. So I'm going to flip those over. And these are definitely ready, or at least that one is. And this one looks ready. Now, I have some people that like their yolks runny and some that like their yolks hard. If you want it to be hard and cook really fast, you can just pop the yolk. Or you can scramble your eggs before you put them in there. That's something you can do too. But I just do it this way, and they cook up fine, and everyone seems to be happy. So I'm not quite sure if this one's ready or not. I just don't want to break it when I flip it. That's the thing. Because the ones of us that do like the yolks, I don't want to have them be hard and broken. That one was not quite ready, but it'll be fine. And this one's not quite ready yet either. So you just have to be careful how ready it is, because we don't want all the whites to spill out too much or the yolks to break. So maybe, yeah, it's not quite ready. But you can see how the bread is like soaking up those yolks. It's really good. It toasts up really good in the toaster and on the grill and in the oven. I really like this bread. And it's, I don't, I mean, it doesn't taste like regular white bread that you get at the grocery store. It doesn't have that stick to your teeth feeling. It has more of a, a wheat bread texture, but still it's not anything like any of the store breads. It has much denser texture, but it's still, in this one, it's still like a nice fluffy bread. So anyways, I was just making sure that we used it up since we already cooked it. And since I use just store brand flour, I can get 4 batches somewhere, 3 to 4 batches out of a 5-pound bag of flour, and each batch makes 2 loaves. So I mean, that's like $2.50, $2.60 for a bag of flour, and then the other ingredient, it's just a few other ingredients that I need to use. So I can average, making 2 loaves for less than $2. And when I buy 1 loaf, it's almost $3 or $4 for the ones that don't have GMO products in it, or genetically modified, genetically engineered, bioengineered ingredients. So, and these taste better, and they actually mold and go bad, so that tells us it's like real food. So we've just gotten to the habit of doing this. Now, it does mean more work on my part. So if you are a working mom and you want bread, you will have to configure your schedule to make that work. So like on an off day, maybe that's the day you make bread, and you could make a double batch, and then you could separate it out in different doughs, and you could pop them in the freezer, and then you could just thaw it out that morning. And then when you come home, I think you could thaw it out that morning, and then when you come home, you could punch it down and then put it in a pan, wait 30 minutes, and then you could pop it in the oven and have fresh bread that evening. So if I was working outside the home, that is the way I would probably handle that. It does take a bit of that manpower up front, but it's not super hard. It's just a matter of wrapping your head around, you just got to do it, and that's just what you got to do. So, anyways, this is how we're doing it, and they should be getting close to done. I don't want them to overcook, so I'm gonna pull out this plate that I used with all the crumbs, and I'm gonna go with these because I don't want mine totally done. I want them to be a bit runny. And see, that one's probably more done, so my husband might like that one better. And I will check one of these. Yeah, I'll probably go with this one because it is less done. Well, I say it's less done. It might not be. And that's it. And these are the ones that are just the yolk-free ones. And they turned out really nice and pretty. And they toasted up really well. Nice and crispy. You could leave them on there longer if you want them more toasty. But that's it. Alright, thanks guys. See you next time.